So we were initially discussing the first lottery that was in the Beis Hamikdash, the lottery for the Trumas Hadeshen, which included, they added onto it as an enticement, they added on the Caesar Maracha and Shnei Gizrei Eitzim. So the 2 logs of wood, they added onto that. So that was the first, and now Beis Hashem we're going to deal with the second. Not yet. So the Gemara said there were four lotteries, and this was the first one. So we're up to Chaf Dalit Amid Beis, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lines from the bottom. 9 lines from the bottom. Lama Mafisin. Right? Now, why did they make a lottery? Right? The Gemara, Lama Mafisin Kidamaran. We said why they made a lottery. Remember, they raced up the thing and they act over another person, and he broke his leg. Right? So that's why they made a lottery. So what are you asking? You know why they made a lottery? It was dangerous. Says the Gemara, no. Why did they go ahead and make multiple? Why don't they just make what? One. In other words, why did they make 4 lotteries? All the Kahanim of the day were there. Again, you had 24 Mishmarim and you had 6 Batei Avos. The 6 Batei Avos were present. So they were all there. So why do you make them come back a second time and a third time and a fourth time? Just one time, all at once, divvy up all the avoidance that you do over the 4 times. So what? Why do you make them come 4 times?
Don't you have so many people bring that kabbalah? There's enough for everyone.
No, we're talking about the jobs that you do. The jobs that you do, right? The jobs that you do. We're not talking about the individual kabbalas. You can pick your kain. Let's say I brought my carbon up and I want this kain to do it. You can pick. Talk about the avoidance of the seaboard. The Ma'aseh B'chol Yom every day, Ari, every single day. What they did every day. Trumas Hadeshen was every day. Siddur Segis Eitzim, Maracha, Dishon B'Zbeach HaPnimi, cleaning off, all the things that they did every single day. The menorah, the set jobs. Okay, so now says the Gemara, Lama Mafis. I mean, we know why. So here's what the kasha is. Why did they make multiple? Why was there 4? Have one and do it all at once. So I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Is they talking? No, I didn't think so. I know. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Right? During the day, I get a little more covered. Right? I'm Rabbi Yochanan. The reason we do it is the whole azara should be margish. The whole azara should go ahead, and there should be a rash. There should be a little noise, a little commotion. Take counsel in the base of Hashem. Base of Hashem, in the house of Hashem, the halach, we will go berogish with what? With a lot of people. So therefore, we do it for it's like the beroivam hadras melech. It's an Indian of a little publicity. The mamah mafisin, right? What clothing were the Kahanim wearing at the time of the first lottery? You showed up for work. Did you have to put on your work clothes yet or not? Don't say yet, because right, it's machlokes. Well, you're right, according to one opinion. There you go, Mandy. It's machlokes.
Can't go wrong now.
Right. Says the one. So the Mama Faisim, what were they wearing? Rav Nachman Amar Big Day Chayil. In other words, they did it in Big Day Chayil. Rav Sheshes Amar Big Day Kodesh. And Rav Sheshes said they did it in Big Day Kodesh. Again, let's see. The first one. The first one. They show up for the first one. And Rav Nachman says they were Big Day Chol. Rav Sheshes says they were Big Day Kodesh. Rav Nachman Amar Big Day Chayil. Listen, guys, listen. The Amit the Big Day Kodesh, Ika Balei Rois, the Chamsei V'Avdei. In other words, if they were all prepared to go to work, because they were all wearing the clothing, even if the lottery was won by Kayin A, Kayin B, who might be Tom Wilson, might be a strong, right? A guy, a strong guy, may go ahead, right, and Chaperais. He had such a taiva for it. So to stop that from happening, they wore Big Day Chayil. That stops them. Oh, you lost the lottery. He's not going to go ahead now and get dressed and do it. But if he's prepared to do it already, he may do it. So therefore, they did it in Big Day Chayil. What?
Before they had the lottery, the Russian push the mailer. But you have a lottery. There's a system. You tell me they're so dishonest that they're going to.
I don't think it's dishonest. I think it comes from a desire to do the avodah. It comes from a desire to do the avodah. In other words, I'm a kohen. I'm entitled to the avodah. If there's no kohen there, I can do the avodah. When you go ahead, it's not like, I'll tell you the difference. Let's say when you have a lottery and you win $100 in the lottery, right? I don't know shaykhs that $100. It's universally yours. Over here, they all can do the avodah. They're all able to do the avodah.
No, and there's a lottery, everyone has $1 in the pot, so everyone has the same chance of getting $100. Franks and blankets on the plate.
So then what happens? If somebody else wins it, I know somebody who might go ahead and chaperose anyway.
No.
Oh, yeah.
While everyone's doing the lottery, I'm going to the plate and eating.
Okay, I'm glad you buried yourself. Now, says the Gemara, so if you want a big day Kodesh, they may go ahead and zoom in. So Memela, to avoid that, they wore big day Chayil. I'm a big day Kodesh, they come out these drawers to Chamsi Rabbi. Rav Sheshes, I'm a big day Kodesh. No, why? I'm a big day Chayil, Agav Chavivusai, because of the Chavivis, Mikroi Va'avdi. Listen to this. Because of this, the Chavivis, if they're wearing big day Kodesh, they may go ahead and zoom to do the Avodah. If they may zoom to do the Avodah. If they're wearing, they may do big day Chayil. In other words, they wear big day Kodesh to avoid, if the guys, you know what happened like this. Yeah. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a better question. If a kohen does the avodah mechus begodim, it's possible the avodah, right? So listen what Rav Sheshes just said. If they wear big day chayil, mitoich what the chavivus of doing it, mikri will happen. Va'avde they'll do the avodah with big day chayil. So again, you see, it's the same svara at both ends. A certain excitement. I am wearing big day kodesh. You won. I don't care. I really want to do the avodah. I'm wearing big day chol. I won the lottery. Zoom. So you see, it's human nature about someone who has a desirous thing to love to do something. So it's not dishonest. It comes from a good source.
Lays, how much before where did they do the actual lottery physically? Where were they as related to the Azor?
Lishkas Hagazis. Lishkas Hagazis.
That's what they did it. And how much before the Avoda? Right before the Avoda, and then they changed? I mean, or is it done like a few hours before?
No, it's they're going to work right away. Okay, anyway. So now we have 2 days. We have big day kodesh and big day chol. Rav Nachman says big day chol, and Rav Sheshes says big day kodesh. Okay. Rav Nachman, meno aminallah. How do I know it's big day chol? That nan. Soirin lechazanim. They give the kahanim after guys pashas speaking after the lottery. So masun lechazanim. They give it to the shamashim, right? They give it to the shamashim. They give the koyin. V'hoyim avshitin eisam big day hem. And the kahan they would take off, the chazan would take off the kohen's clothing. Now, and they only left on them michnesayim. Now, my love, it must mean that what? They left on what, guys? They had their choldika clothing. The one that won the lottery, they undressed. And they left their pants on al snius, and you see that what they were wearing what they were wearing big dechol. That's my raya. My hechrich is from a Mishnah Talmud. The Mishnah Summit they took the ones it just says my shitin a son them. Them is a pronoun. Who's them? It could be one or two. It could be the ones that won it, or it could be the ones that didn't win it. Good. So if it's the one that's won it, why? If it was big day kodesh, why are they getting them undressed? It must be what? Big day chayil, and they're going to put on big day kodesh to let them do the avodah. You with me? This isn't rocket scientist stuff. Again, to do the avodah, you have to be wearing big day kodesh. So if they're dressing the one who won the lottery to do the avodah, why are they undressing them? Because it must be they're wearing big day chayil. Good. Now, Amrav Huna, Bar Yehuda, Amrav Sheshes, Loi. That's not what the Mishnah is speaking about. But Oisan, the pronoun Oisan, Shaloi Zachu Lepayis. The losers. The losers. And what were they wearing? Big Day Kodesh. So since they didn't win and they can't do the Avodah, they were taking off the Big Day Kodesh. So Hachanami Mistaber that is speaking about Big Day Kodesh. These are Kedaitach, but Oisan Shazachu Lepayis. If you're speaking about the ones that was left to the pious, and they were in Big Day Chayil. How could they leave on Mechlasayim? For Tanya, there shouldn't be anything on him before Mechlasayim. Tamaloima Mechlasay Bad Al Besarai. Let's see Rashi here. These Salkadaita, first Rashi. These Salkadaita, second line. We have Shatazu Big Day Chayil, and they were taking off Big Day Chayil, and they Ulabishon Big Day Kaidesh. Ukitani Lohayam Minichalim Mechlasay Chayil. They left on him the pants. Alma Mabishon, I saw Big Day Kodesh, Michtesei Chayil. So they'd be dressing him Big Day Kodesh while he's wearing Chayil pants. After he would take off his Big Day Chayil, his pants, for life shall Michtesei Kodesh. How could you do that? I has to be the Michtesei Kodesh has to be the one that's put on first. So Ella must be speaking about the guys who didn't win. That's right, guys. It's a little. Watch. Let's go through it. That's right. Look at me. Zoom. Look at me. Choice. If you're speaking about the one that won the lottery, and he was wearing Big Day Chayil. So here's what the Mishnah says in Talmud. The one that won the lottery, they'd give them over to the Shamish. The Shamish would then take off the Big Day Chayil, but they would leave on the Big Day Chayil pants. Why would they leave on the Big Day Chayil pants? They should be standing Aram in the Azara. Good, great. Then they would proceed to dress him with what? In Big Day Kodesh. So therefore, they'd have to remove the Big Day Chayil to put on the Big Day Kodesh. And they're dressing him, they're putting on the shirt, and they're putting on the pants. L'chayra, it's shver, because he has to be wearing the pants first. So obviously, he must be speaking about the ones who didn't win. And you're taking off the Big Day Kodesh, and you leave on the Michlasei his pants. That's the raya that to interrupt Sheshes. The Idach, and what does Rav Nachman do with this? What does Rav Nachman? Holy Kasha, Hachi Getani. At Sha'oidin Alei and Big Day Chayil, while he still had Big Day Chayil, Malbishn I say Michnasei Kodesh. They would, in other words, they would first put on Big Day Kodesh. Vayim Avshitan I say Big Day Chayil. Well, They'd only leave on the Michnasayim, meaning the pants. So here's what they would do, guys. Guys, what's that pada? That the first thing that he wears in the Big Day Kodesh is just the pants. So what would they do? They take off his old pants, put on his pants, and then undress him, and he'd leave him with the pants, which is what. Okay. So that's the machlokes between Rav Sheshes Big Day Kodesh and Rav Nachman Big Day Chayil. Amar Rav Sheshes Mina Amina. Well, what's my raya that it was Big Day Kodesh? What's my raya? The Tanya Lishkas Hagazis Kimin Basilaki. Remember, guys. Remember the Lishkas Hagazis was. Let's try to do. Let's try to do this. All right, let's go, guys. You can look at the picture. I'm going to do what I always do. Is try to find this thing over here. I'm going to be able to get it. I think I'm going to get it this time. I got it. I'm good. Guys, here's the, let me share. Guys, you can see this? You can see it?
Yeah.
You guys, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, you see 23?
You have to
Guys,
scroll
look
up.
at 23. If you don't have it, look on with somebody. It'll be all the way at the beginning, Mendy. Now turn. You find it. You see number 23? Notice there's one that's in Chayil and one that's in Kodesh. A little part in Kodesh, little part in Chayil. That's the Lishkas Hagazis. That's where it took place. Got it? That's where it took place. Now notice again, the part that's in the Kodesh, right, like 24 and 25, and one that's out of bounds totally. Good? Okay. Now, with that in mind, we can begin. So again, what does Rav Sheshes wants to prove that they were wearing Big Day Kodesh, and it's going to prove from the following. Lishkas Hagazis, the lishka of stone, Kimin Basilaki Gedoyla. They had like a basilica, like an attic on top of it. The pious took place in the east. out of bounds, guys, right? The pious took place in the east. The Zaken Yosef Marava, and the Zaken sat in the west. And the Kahanim, they sat and they surrounded him like a necklace or a circle, an oval. And the one in charge of the Beis Hamikdash would come. He would take the hat off one of them. Guys, there's Uriah. That's the misnefetz, guys. It's big day kahuna. It's what it's a hat. If it's wearing big day chayil, where are you getting a hat from? So it must be that they're wearing big day kodesh. That's Uriah. So they would go ahead. They would put the hat, and from the hat they'd someone would pick an arbitrary number, and they would count. They'd stick out the fingers, and they would count. So what's the raya? When they took the hat of somebody, the hat is what? It's big day kodesh. Nice raya. What? Why did they? To know where to start. You need a starting point. Like Monopoly. The board is the start. You pass. Go. Okay. I just want to explain to you. For noitel mitznefes mei roishai, they would take the mitznefes shalach me'am b'yoyim shemi menu pious maskil, and they would know from there that the pious would begin. Is there anything such as b'dei choil? Doesn't want to end. There is kiditani. Okay, guys, where did Kahanim's begodim come from? Who paid for it? What? No. Who paid for it? Who paid for it? Try again. Again, try again. I know what you know. Try again. It came from Trumas Alishka. Now, if the mother who had a few bucks, they wanted to upgrade, then they could go ahead, make it nice, and then be magdish it. That's what you were talking about. But a regular stam koyin without the upgrade comes from Trumas Alishka. Good. So now, here's what Yankel is speaking about. To the Tani Rav Yehuda, read him Rav Shmuel Yehuda. Koyin shasasa like imoy kasainis. Koyin, that's mother, made him a shirt. Oivid ba'avodas yachid. He's able to do the avodas yachid. Rashi says in Lamed Hey, Lamed. We're going to see Lamed Aleph. Rashi says it's the avoid of taking out the kaf from the Beis Hamikdash, from the Kodesh Kedoshim, and the Machta. So therefore, einachinami, you'd have a hat. Einachinami, you'd have a hat. In other words, if your raya is that it's a hat, right? Ken Zayin, it's not. Maybe the mother made a hat. The mother made a hat and is wearing that hat. That's the hat they're wearing, but not lav dafka that it's what. It's the koyens that they What? What are you talking about?
If this wasn't, if you're saying you could only do an avodah that's yachid.
Avodas yachid is a machloikis what it is. No, I didn't say that. I said the following: that clothing that they wore, that the mother made, couldn't be used for avodas tzibur. It could only be used for avodas yachid. Right, so but that is again, it is considered obviously if he's doing it, it's considered an avodah, but it's only a avodah of a certain type. It's an avodah. In other words, we're gonna. Okay, this is the main story. I'll tell it quickly. Here's quickly, right? Obviously, he can't be mechusar b'gadim because it's not an avodah. Okay, that we said that the mother's clothing and not the traditional clothing could be used for a certain type of avodah, not across the board.
Right.
That's all. That's what I said.
Right.
And we're not going to go into it further. We'll discuss it at a later date. Okay. On Daf Lamed Aleph when we get to it.
Okay.
Great. All I wanted to do is say it's possible that the mitzvah is on. That's not necessarily that that comes from the dressing.
But didn't they make it like kind of they wouldn't accept those begadim after the mother bought him like a $10,000 thing and it wasn't like.
Okay, so this is for the takana. Amar Abaye Shmamina lishkas hagazis Shmamina the lishkas hagazis chetzi b'kodesh v'chetzi b'chol. Half of the kodesh was half of the chol, right? At why? Why? What's your raya, guys? By the fact that the Kahanim were in the Azara, and the fact that the guy was sitting. How could this guy be sitting? We're going to see in a second. Right, we'll see in a second. The Gemara is a big raya. That there were two openings to the Lishkas Hagazis, guys. That there were two openings to the Lishkas Hagazis. What are the two? One that opened up to the south, to the south, to the Kodesh. That was open in the north. If you're going to tell me that what? that the whole Azara was in the Kodesh. Zaken Yoshev Marava. How could the Zaken possibly sit in the west? From Amar, Ein Yeshiva Azara El Malchi Beis David Bulvad. The only one who could sit in the Azara is Malchus Beis David. If you can tell me the whole thing was in the Chayil and not in the Kodesh, pious Mizracha, are they going to do the pious in the east? But in Beis Elokim Nahalik Baragesh Veleka El Shmamina Chetzi B'Kodesh Chetzi B'Chol. Now, so guys, watch. We're proving four things. We're proving that there was one part was in Kodesh, one part was in Chayil, and we're proving there was an opening to Kodesh and opening to Chayil. The proof that there was a Kodesh, they had to do the pious. They had to be in the Azara. The proof that there was a Chayil, because there was somebody sitting. If he was sitting, obviously he can't be in the Azara, because the only one who can sit in the Azara is Malchus Beis David. Now, why were there two openings? Because you only had one opening, then the halacha, the whole place would go after the opening. So if it only opened to Chol, it would be Chol. If it's open to Kodesh, it would be Kodesh. Okay, so these that it only had one opening, then Zok and Yoshem Arava Vatanan, Halishakas Abanuyas B'chol, the chambers that were built in out of bounds in the Chayil, Upsuch al Kodesh, Toichen Kodesh. So you won't be able to sit. Visal Gedaita Besuch al Chayil, Pious Mizracha, Vatanan, Banuyas B'Kodesh, Besuch al Chayil, Toichen Chayil. So how would you have the pious in the Azara? It would have a loch of Chayil. There were two openings. Okay, so again, we're leaving off. We have machloikis between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes as to the what were they wearing. Rav Nachman says they were big day chayil. He brought a raya. They chepped with his raya. Rav Sheshes said big day kodesh. He brought a raya. They chepped with his raya. So we basically don't. Again, hilchos the Mashiach, I guess. But the halacha is like Rav Sheshes. Machlokes of Nachman Rav Sheshes, be'isura, we go after Rav Sheshes. So over here, the halacha is, I don't know why he doesn't mute himself. Just
another one of the best of.
Blue.
I just can't. I can't.
Just two more. That's all we need.
Stop it. Okay, guys. Let's spend a few 2 minutes or three. Yeshiva ba'azara, if it's midaraisa or midrabanan. Again, before you get that a melech can sit. That that the din of yeshiva, is that a din daraisa that only a melech can sit? It's the raisa din, or no? It's more. It's another din. So let's see what Rashi says. Let's do a little research. Says Rashi, Ein yeshiva el malchus beis David, Ein yeshiva b'azara. Says Rashi, shenemar lamoid l'shares. It says to stand and to serve. So it's mashma, it has to be la'amoid l'sharis and not to sit. But that's b'shas the avoida. Now, el l'malchei beis David, shematzina b'hem yeshiva. Shenemar, it says, vayavay hamelech David, vayeshav l'fnei Hashem. The melech David came and he sat before Hashem, vayom mi anochi yomi beisi. Who am I? And so that's what now. There is a Rashi in Sanhedrin, that's Kuf Aleph Amid Beis, that it's halacha mosh misinai. That's halacha Moshe Misinai, whether not, it doesn't learn from Lama the Sharis. Rashi says it's halacha Moshe Misinai. Okay, so those are two sources. However, look at Taisus. Ein yeshiva b'azara tema. Taisus yes at lashon tema. The Amar perik beis disvachim. Uma yoshev she'oichel im avid chilel. Now the hechi achel va ein yeshiva b'azara. Now if you can't eat, you can't. How could you eat? Now guys, they had to eat in the azara, right? Kachei kedoshim. Now this is a very basic question. The Kahanim had to eat the chatas, the asham, the kivsei atzeres. There were kabbanis that could only be eaten in the azara. So how could it? They couldn't sit. How could they eat? It's good question, no? V'yesh loymar she'oichel b'kotchem kalam haneacholim b'chol ha'ir. Oh, one teretz. Speaking about they eat kotchem kalam. Inami oimari. Here's the chiddush, guys. Amari bar Avraham says, right? The Afal Gav, the Ein Yeshiva Bazara El Malchus Beis David, Hani Milim, the Devarim Delav Tzarich Avoida. That's only things that are not necessary for the avodah. But eating is tzarech avodah. Why? They would go ahead and be able to sit. When do we say in yeshiva ba'azara? That's only stam to sit. But if it has something to do with the avodah, then you could sit. Since eating the carbon in itself is what is an avodah, meaning that because the bailam get a kapara as a result of the kind of eating, memela they will be able to sit for that. That's what Tosfos says. Excuse me?
That doesn't stem with the pasuk. Lamed l'sharis.
Why?
Because what does lamed l'sharis mean?
Lamed l'sharis is when the avoided that to stand up, that it's done standing, but eating, no one. It doesn't. Again, on the other hand, I can tell you that no person eats standing, right? But no, it's not normal. So, in other words, but it has a shaykhus to the avoid. It doesn't mean it's not avoid. It's shaykhus to avoid. It's a shaykhus to avoid. So, therefore, you'll be able to do it. Okay, now there's a Tosfos rid. There's a Tosfos rid that says a tremendous chiddush. It says by David. It says David came, he sat lifnei Hashem. So there seems to be a hakpod that has to be dafka lifnei Hashem. In the Azara, lifnei Hashem would be keneged the heichel. What about the sides? It has the kedushas Azara, but it's not lifnei Hashem. So avoid that, you'll be able to sit over there. You'll be able to sit there on the side.
Well, that would be good with the Israelim, coming around to the back by the.
Well, again, that's a shy. These are kahana meeting in the Azara, right? Yeah, that would make it less. Maybe. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Okay, so you have a few pshat, you have a few drachim over here. You have lamed the sharis that it's a din daraisa. You have tzalach l'mash misinai, the lachamash misinai. Then there's that only certain there's a heta b'shas achila, even l'fnei Hashem, and then there's the isra of yeshiva is only l'fnei Hashem. So if you draw him about the whole Indian of what of yeshiva b'azar. Okay, what the pious Hasheni, the second pious. Mi shaychit, who would shech the tamid. Mi zayrik, who would do zrika. Notice the Gemara didn't mention anything about Kabbalah, so we're going to see the Gemara is going to have a shaila. Who does the Kabbalah? The one who won the shchita or the one who won the zrika? The one who did the shchita, the one who won the zrika. Mi midash mizbeach hapnimi, who cleans off the mizbeach hazav that had the ashes on it from the kataris. Mi midash nes hamenoira, who cleans out the menorah. Mi maila evarim lakevesh, who's going to bring the evarim up to the kevesh? Now they would shech the carbon, guys. They would butcher it and they would bring it up. It's a sheep. They would bring the parts up to the lower part of the ramp. They would bring it up to the lower part of the ramp. They'd put it down there, and then there'd be another one who would take it from there and bring it up to the mizbeach proper. So it's by the ramp, the lower part of the ramp. And now we're going to go through exactly how many. We're going to have a total of 13 people in this. 13 people in this lottery win jobs. So let's go. Shoichet is 1, Zarik is 2, Midash mizbeach hapnim is 3. Midashnes hamenoira is that I get menorah umimayla evarim. So the haroish v'haregel go together. The roish is the head. The regel is the right back foot. 2 shtei yadayim, 2 forelegs. 3 the oik, it's the tail v'haregel, the left back leg. 4 chazik v'agera, the chest and the neck. 5 shtei the front is the 2 flanks. 6 v'akarvayim, the innards. 7 the nesachim, the silas from the nesachim. 8 is the chavitim of the kohen gadol. Vayayin, the nesachim for the yayin. Shloish esrei kahanim zachul boy. Total of 13 kahanim is in this. 9 in the carbon and 4 otherwise. Rabbi Yeshua says derech hilucha hayakarev. Rabbi Yeshua says that they would bring it up derech hilucha, the way the chayav hayakarev hatamid. In the way that it lived, that's the way they brought it up. So in other words, we have one order over here, how they brought it up. We're going to have a bunch of different orders. We'll get to this in the share. I made a chart. There's a machlokes exactly how they brought it up. If they butchered it, what they bring up first. Now, Iboilahu, very interesting shaila. How many jobs did you have over here, guys? You had 13 jobs, right? 13 jobs. Good. Did they do 13 different lotteries? or that they did one lottery and then they count to the right, right? Kol pinashat the point el yamin. So the one shaychit, the one next to him one zrika, the one next to him one dishim mizbeach apnim menorah, and you had one lottery and then you went around. So the shaylu is it one lottery with 13 you do it 13 times? Or no, it's one lottery, you do it once, and then you just count from that person, and that's the ladder, guys. You're gonna once, and then you're gonna count from that person. The kahanim to his right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 13. Each one will get that avodah.
From every group, there'll be 13 people doing, when you have a whole bunch.
Every morning. Again, this is by the carbon tamid. By the carbon tamid shel shachris. Iboilu kashem mafisin la avoida achas mafisin. They do it for one. Oidil meluchal avoida v'avoida mafisin for each and every one. Tashma arba payasas hayasham 4. Bisakadai the chol avoida mafisin. If you're going to tell me for every single avoida, everything avoida, so mafisin too bahavi. Guys, the Mishnah said there are 4 lotteries, but if you're telling me in the lottery you're going to do it 13 times, that's much more than 4. Well, the obvious answer, right, within that one, right? The 4 is the main idea, and then you have the subcategories. It doesn't mean 4 lotteries; it means 4 times they entered for a lottery. And each and every time they went in, there could have been what multiple lotteries. Toshma Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Okay, guys, there was when they did the Ketairis, 2 people were involved. One person brought in a fire pan, the other person brought in a Ketairis, and they went into Mizbech Hazov. One person would put the fire pan down on Mizbech Hazov, and the other one would put what? Now, notice we didn't have a pious for the Machta. No, we had when so do the Ketairis, but he didn't mention anything about what? About the shovel of coals. We just mentioned the one who's going to bring in the incense, not the one who's going to go ahead and bring the coals. The coin that was Zoich to do Ketairis, he said to the one on his right, so why do you see? There's not a separate lottery, right? Because he's turning to the right. Listen, I won the Ketairis, you're coming along with me. And for the Gemara, shining Machta of Ketairis, the Chadavoidi. Maybe it's not true. Maybe you can't take the one on the right. Maybe you do separate lotteries. But since the Machta and the Ketairis we can view as one Avoida, so that's why he can pick the guy. Ikadiyami the other way. Dafka Machta of Ketairis, the Chadavoidi. Dafka Machta and Ketairis is the one Avoida, then he could pick it. Avashara Avoidas, boy, pious. So therefore, you do need a pious. There's to bring a right the other way. That only over here can he choose. But the other things they're going to have to go ahead and re-lottery a lot of times. Says the Gemara, no. Machta, it's 3. Really, you don't do lottery a lot of times. Really, you don't. Really, you only do one. Why do you tell me the Chiddush? If you only do one and you're counting anyway, so why can the Torah pick the Machta guy? Since it's not shchichi, means not that it's not shchichi, but to win it, the Torah is only once in a while because it's done twice a day. Salkadat Chamina, Hoyov Leshchichi, Umat Astra makes you rich. They're tackling the price of the Yatsa, they make their own pias, Kamash Blon, that they didn't make a separate pias for the Machta. But in the Chinami, Ken Zayin that they didn't do multiple lotteries. Tashma, final Pshat, Tani Rabchia, Abraisa, Loy Lechol Avoidev Avoidim Faisin, not for each and every avoided did they make a separate lottery. The coin that was zeicha to do the tamid, the other 12 kahanim got schlepped along with him. Shmamina. So over here, when it says they did the lottery, the one who's shechted, then they would go to the one next to them, you do the zrika, then they do the one next to them, you do the dishim mizbeach panim menorah. The one next to them, they said, you go ahead and well, that's 4. Shloichet, Zorik, Pnimi, and Menorah. Now, and they would then go ahead and pick the guys to do the 9 guys to do ahead, bring the different pieces up. That's what they would do. That was the Malach. Pais Hasheni, the one who does Adishim Mizbech now. Iboilahu, Mi Makabel. Guys, we just said Mi Shloichet and then Mi Zorik. Guys, there were 4 Avodas Adam, right? There's 4 Avodas Adam. There's Shchita, Kabbalah, Hailach, and Zrika. 4. You just told me 2. You told me the guy who does the Shchita, and you told me the guy who does the Zrika. Who does the Kabbalah? Who does the Kabbalah, right? Says the Gemara. There's 2 possibilities. The Kabbalah. Now, the Halacha is going to be clearly done by the one who does the Kabbalah. That's no Shaila. The one who carries it over clearly is the one who is Makabal the blood. Question. Is the one who Makabal the blood, right? Is he the one who shechted it? Or is he the one who does the Zrika? That's the question. He boil mi mekabel shaykh mi mekabel shaykh mekabel the armit the zayrik mekabel agav chabivusa le mekabel el kuladam. If you're going to say that the shaykh the zayrik is mekabel, again same svar we said, he desires to do the avodah, so he's going to go ahead, he can take it, and before all the blood comes out of the neck of the animal, he's going to run over and throw it because he's in such a rush with such a chavivus to do the avodah. He won. So we're scared that maybe he's going to go ahead and do it too early. That's one reason that he's not makabel. Like Dilma Zarek makabel. Dilma Sheikh makabel. Zimin the Sheikh Zar. So this is Mendy's favorite thing. That Shchit is kosher bizarre. So if Shchit is kosher bizarre, and from then on, it's what? It's only kosher b'koyin. Obviously, the Sheikh can't be the one who wins the Kabbalah, because not always is the kohen going to do it. Lichat chila, a non-kohen can do the shchita, but he can't do the Kabbalah. So it must be what? The Zoyrik, who can do the Kabbalah, is the one who does the Kabbalah. That's the two stadim over here. Toshma, ben Cotton, Asa Yud Beis Dad Lakir. We're going to meet a little bit down the line people who did positive things and got praised. A person named Ben Cotton, he made 12 faucets for the kiyar. So each kohen that was involved in the Talmud could do Kiddush Yadayim Vraglayim simultaneously. Good? Kidei she Yud Beis Achiv HaKohanim HaOiskim B'Talmud Makdishin Yadayim Vraglayim B'Vasachas. V'Isal Kedaitach Shoichet Mekabel. If you're going to say the Shoichet is Mekabel, then Tlesa Have, then you would need 13. Why? Because the person Shchit is kosher bizarre, right? So you don't need Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim for what? For the Shchita, but you would need it for the Kabbalah. Let's look at Rashi, guys. There were 13 avoiders counted in our Mishnah. But avoiders pious at Tamid. Ella shashchita ain't tuna Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. The Shchita does not require Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim since it's kosher bizarre. I feel like she bekoyin. If she avoida, she ksher bizarre. The amit shoichet mekabel nimsa shut tzarich lekadish yad v'ragla b'shvil hakabbalah. Okay, look at me. I lost you. Watch. How many people are in this avoida? We did clearly. You got 9 transporters. You have the shchita. You have the srika. You have dishim mizbeach hapnimi, and you have dishim hamenoira. That's a total of 13, right? You have 13. Guys, good. Now, how many sockets do you have over here? You have 12, right? You have 12. The shchita does not require Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. You know why? Because the Zohar could do it. So obviously you don't need it. Good? Now, let's say a kohen does the shchita and the Kabbalah. He would have to wash his hands, not for the shchita, he'd have to wash his hands for the Kabbalah. So you need an extra faucet. So it must be that it must be the Zayrik is the Makabel. And the Shaykh, it could be anything, it's not a big deal. You have 12. Even though there's 13 people involved, the Shaykh is not going to wash his hands. We just need to. Yeah.
So if the Yisrael does the shchita,
right,
then it's done outside, not inside.
No, it'll be done inside. The carbon is only done. It's only done in the. Again, I said it clearly. I told Mendy that you can't go into the Azara is only if there's no purpose. I can go into the Azara to do smicha, right? The smicha is only on the northern Mizbeach. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. Shchita of the Talmud, which is a Kodesh Kodashim, it's an Oila, is only northern Mizbeach. Northern Mizbeach is clearly in the Azara. Good. Now, any chatas which requires smicha, right? You can go in. So it's a very nice raya, guys. Again, if you're telling me the kohen does the Kabbalah, you would need 13. There's 13 people. But if the kohen does not do the Kabbalah, then the guy who does the shchita, the kohen does shchita does not need, and therefore you only need 12. So the fact that he did 12 is lacharaya. The fact that he's the 12, you only need 12 because the shoichet is not doing the Kabbalah, which will require a Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. He only does Zoyrek. It's a very geshmak. Elav Shmai says, "Marisa kedai toch shoichet mekabel klesa have." Elav Shmai mina Zoyrek mekabel Shmai mina. You have good raya. Amli Rav Acha Brei the Rav Rav Ashi Afanan Amitnina Shoichet HaShoichet the Kibul HaMakabel the Shoichet with Shech and the Makabel is Makabel it the Kibul HaMakabel Ubalo Elizroik Shmaminos. So you see that what Uba Makabel Uba Lizroik Makabel is coming to the Zrika. So it says the one is Makabel comes to the Zrika. You have a raya that the Makabel is this like that. Okay. Guess what I did tonight? Here we go. Shaving up. Okay, I'll put this up. Any more? Huh?
Document had the controls right on it.
Okay. Anyway, Tanur Rabbanan. We're going. Tanur Beketza Derech Hilucha. It says we bring up the layers of what would you do? Derech Hilucha. Roish v'regel achas v'gerish shtei yodem shtei lefanas ha'iketz v'regel. Rabbi Yossi Yom derech hefsheta. You go after what? The way it is hefshet. The way it is what it is. It is the way it is. There we have it. He says the way that what that you skin it. That's what Rabbi Yossi says. The way you skin it. Ketza derech hasheta, reish v'regel, uketz v'regel, shtei nefanish, shtei yadayim chaz v'ger. Kiva oim derech nisuchay, the way it's cut up, how you cut it. Ketza derech nisuchay, reish v'regel. Here's Rabbi Akiva, reish v'regel, shtei yadayim chaz v'ger, shtei nefanish, uketz v'regel. Rabbi Yossi glu yoyme derech ilavei. You go according to the quality of the meat, how you cut it. Ketza derech iluvei. Reish v'regel, everyone holds that goes first. Chaz v'ger next, shtei nefanish next, uketz v'regel next, shtei yadayim next. Now, it's mashma from the end that the oiketz regel, if you're going according to the quality of the meat, over here, the oiketz regel, the back part and the regel and the front feet is less quality. I have exhibit says kol neisach toiv yerech kasef. Yerech would be the back, kasef would be the front, and it's called neisach toiv. It's called a good stick flesh. Says that's when an animal is thin. Then it's a good stick flesh. Amarava bein Tani done bein Rabbi Yossi basila bein the bisraslina. The machloikas between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi is very interesting. When you go after quality, do you go after quantity or you go after quality? Mar asal basa ibra the bisra goes after the quantity. That makes it better, the size. Mar asal basa shamna the bisra. And the Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds you go after the fatty meat. My timer, salka rogel, the hadi why we across the board you see reish v'regel all goes together. What's the reason reish v'regel all goes together? The reish and the fishi bein summer, since the reish has a lot of bones in it, carve regel bahadei, they would put the regel first. They put the regel along to give it a little meat. The kuli amamiya roish karav reish. Ever since the reish went first, where do you know that from? We have two pesuk in the Tanya. Minayin roish the layer of fat that go shekayim cholei varim. Amloim es roish bes pidroi. V'orach. It says roish pidroi v'orach. You should put it up. The idach peder in pasuk you ches where it says pader achrina. Mayasel the Tanya. Ketzera yaisa. What would they do? Noisness a pader abes shchita. They would put this layer of fat covering the base of shchita, which was full of blood. Maleu and bring it up. Zehu derech kovit shel milas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wish everyone a good Shabbos. Thank you for listening for a second time.